All right, I'm jumping on early just because I want to work out some of these bugs. So I figure while I'm working out some bugs, I will do some work on this piece. And then we'll officially get started at 1 o'clock. Now, what I don't know how to do is to copy the link and put it in here. But we're learning. It'll be fine. I should probably sharpen my pencil and make sure I got my tools together. Okay, so we got this, got the eraser, got this, sharpen my pencil. Hello, I don't know who's here, but let me know who's here. I'm just getting started a little early because I wanted to just make sure there weren't any bugs that needed to be worked out or anything, since this is going to be our first big live. But if you're here, I'm happy that you're here, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you for a little while. We are going to get started with the actual painting right at 1 o'clock, so we have another 12 minutes or so before we're going to actually jump into that. And also too, I've got some music playing. I don't know if that is distracting for anybody or not, but please let me know. And in the meantime, I am just going to hello. I don't know who's here, but hello. I am just getting set up right now. The actual painting is going to start at around 1 o'clock. I'm just going to turn my music down a little bit too. And yeah, we're going to actually start at 1 o'clock. So we've got about 10 minutes or so. Manat, hello! It's so good to see you, my friend. How are you? Are you going to be sitting and actually painting with us today? Are you going to be able to do that, or are you just coming to hang out? It's good to see you. I'm just getting set up because I wanted to just make sure there weren't any bugs to deal with. So I'm just getting set up now. And I'm just making sure that I've got my clock in front of me, that I've got everything that I need in front of me for us to jump in and do this, because this is going to be an actual tutorial. I wanted to jump on early for a minute, Barb, just to make sure there weren't any bugs that I needed to work out, and I'm sure there's going to be some that we come across. I think that's inevitable. Excuse me, but yeah, I just figured I'd jump on and at least get centered and ready to go. Just checking in for a little bit. Oh, nice. That'll be nice to go see some family. And that's okay. I'm glad you're here. Barb's excited. We're going to get started in about 8 minutes actually doing the painting. I did some more top dots on the incense holder that we were working on the TikTok live last night. I finished the top dots. I think it looks really, really good. So I'm going to now have to come up with what I'm going to do on the sides. Maybe some swoops, maybe some more dots. I kind of feel like I want to keep going with dots, but we'll see. I'll wait and see how I feel about them. And then beginning of next week, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, I can start playing with the resin. And then once the resin is poured, then I will drill a hole that will hold the incense on there. But that's the plan anyway. We'll see how well it actually works out. But I did that little bit more work. So this one is done, except for the sides. I did a little bit more on the rainbow one that we started last night. Just added a couple more bits of detail. You can kind of see the purple dots are very dark in between there, but I still think they look good. So I'm going to do a row of pink. And then the next row after the pink is going to start the spiral again. Just like on this one, I got the spiral going the other direction after the band. I'm going to do the same thing with the rainbow one as well. So that's where we're at for that. And maybe I'll put on the row of pink dots here while we're just sitting here. For the tutorial today, you can use any size that you want. Just bring whatever colors you want. Oh, thanks, Manon. I'm glad you like it. I'm going to use rainbow. And just because I like having that color combination, so it's nice for it to pop out. But we'll go through everything that we can go through. I love this one already. This one's for a friend's daughter. How's the 50 days going, Manon? Slowly making his way through all of the presents. Is he having fun with it? Are you having fun with it? All right, everybody. So we got about 6 minutes before we'll start painting. This is just another project that I've been working on. We started early today, so I thought I might as well put some more dots on. But this is kind of the idea of what we're going to be going through on the tutorial today, working on a piece kind of like this. I'm going to use rainbow colors. You can use whatever colors you have in front of you. If you have only 2 colors, you want to mix them together and make 3 or 4, then you can definitely do that. I'd say look for multiples of 4. So this is in multiples of 8, and I repeat the design 4 times. But I'm going to talk to you about spacing and how you can figure out how many colors do you even have room for. And that's where you start in practice. You know, when I first started doing the spirals, I had no freaking clue how to space it out or how many colors I could use or how to make space for all of that. So we're going to start very bare bones basics. And we're going to start without even switching the colors for a spiral, just so you can get used to, with the tools that you have, how many dots are you getting around the outside and how are we getting them spaced. So that's what today is going to be. And then we'll go through the concept of the spirals too, because we can switch, right? We can make the design whatever we want. So we can make it solid colors and rows for a little while and then spirals again after. So we're going to play with that a little bit. I'm just going to finish this row of pink, and then I will catch up on the comments here. This is the first live that we're doing like this. We're going to be experimenting with quite a few different things, like having moderators come on to help me answer questions and stuff like that. Hi, Sharon. Just to help with comments and everything, because we really want to get through as much painting as humanly possible on these tutorials, right? Like sitting and having conversations is wonderful, but it's getting through projects that we want to do on these. Good day, Sharon. How are you, a good lady? It's still going, but we're having fun with it. But he hasn't got to the goodies yet. Oh no, is it killing you? That must be so frustrating. But I'm really glad you're having fun with it. That's wonderful to hear. I'm actually going to do 2 dots on this row. So we're going to start with a rainbow piece. It doesn't matter what size canvas you have, what size material you have to paint on, if it's round, if it's square. What we're going to go over is going to work on any surface. If you do have black paint and you want to have a black background, whatever you have in front of you to paint on now, now would be a good time to get that background painted. Or you can do it on whatever color is in front of you, wood, natural, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I just prefer to work on black because it's forgiving in case I make mistakes. So, but a quick coat of black paint if you want to. And that kind of goes forward with all of the tutorials that you'll see from me. Most often I'm going to be painting on a black background. So if you want to create something that looks similar to what I'm doing with the kind of similar aesthetic, then whatever you're going to paint during our tutorials, give the background a quick black paint so that it's ready to go for you. So we are going to get started right at 1 o'clock and we'll jump in with the new piece. I've got a small square canvas that I'm going to work on, and I've got rainbow colors. So the thing that I like about the rainbow colors is that even if you don't have room for every color that you've pulled out into your kind of array of colors, you can pick and choose based on what you have space for. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place a center dot. We're going to find the center of whatever it is we're working on. We're not going to draw any other guidelines. We're only going to do a center dot. And then I'm going to show you how I do spacing around that just by having the center dot where I want it to be. And then I'll be able to show you how to see how many colors you actually have room for in your rotations. So that's what today's going to be. I wasn't making fun. I love it. He sounds so prim and proper. It's fantastic. I'm like, ooh, we're going to have a fancy live. I love it. Absolutely love it. So Sharon, I was going to get your package out today. I printed off the shipping label and everything, and it's good to go. I took it to the post office this morning, and then their computer broke down. So I'm going to get it actually in the mail for you tomorrow. But it's on its way finally. Yay! It's killing me a little bit, but in a good way. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun when it does happen, right? Okay, so hello, Rex. How are you? It's good to see ya. I'm glad you're here. Who else is here? If you want to say hi, please say hello. I would love to say hello to you. And we are going to get started. Candy, hello. What paints do I use? I use any craft acrylic paints that I can get. So I will buy Craft Smart from Michaels, Folk Art, Deco Art. I also use dollar store paints. So if you are, I don't know where you are at, but these are paints that I got. I got these ones at Dollarama. I got these ones at Dollar Tree. They're all fantastic. The only ones that I really don't like are the apple barrel paints. So the apple barrel paints tend to be really, really watery, and that's not going to be what you want for doing dot painting. You don't want super thick either. We want to kind of have a nice little medium. But the apple barrel paints I find very, very watery, so I'm not a big fan of those. Good question, Candy. Can I mail on a Sunday? Yeah, I can. We have our post offices are open. They have people working there on Sundays. In a couple cities, not in every town, but where I'm going to be tomorrow, they'll be open, so we should be good. Barb, she's here since 10 a.m. She's been ready to go. I'm glad you did too, Rex. Right? Apple Barrel is really, really watery. It's not a lot of fun. Hello, Ishmael. And you're most welcome, Candy. Okay, so what we're going to talk about for today is we are going to go through spacing. My goals with my tutorials are not to necessarily have a full completed piece at the end of it, but have you comfortable enough with the techniques and the patterns that you're using that you are happy to continue on and finish painting it whenever you have the time or desire to. So when it comes to these tutorials, you can paint on anything you like, any size you like. You will see me painting on things from stones this small. Actually, might as well show you one that I did. Stones this small up to big canvases. It's completely up to you what you want to paint on. You can paint on wood. You can paint on ceramic. You can paint on plaster. These ones are plaster. You can paint on hand cast stones. You can canvas board, anything at all that you want to do. Oh my gosh, Ish, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that was you. How terrible. I'm so sorry, honey. How are you? I'm sorry, Ish. It's good to see you, love. Completely caught me off guard. I'm so sorry. So we're going to go through different tools to use, how to find the center of the piece. And you know what? Sometimes off-center ones are just as fun. I've created some off-center pieces, and you don't have to find the exact center. It's all depending on what you want to do. I want to get you comfortable with the techniques, and I want to get you comfortable with the different patterns that we're going to do. And the first thing that I really struggled with when I was starting this is spacing and figuring out my spacing and how to get it nice and even and how to get it nice and uniform. So I want to show you those tricks and get you started on a project that you can kind of keep going with and how you can modify it as we go. So let's just say hello. Okay, thanks, Ish. I know. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing good, hon. I'm doing good. I'm feeling a little frazzled this morning. I feel like I'm, you know, do you ever wake up and just feel behind? That's kind of where I'm at today. But I'm really excited to be doing this. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got 18 people here. Hello, 18 people. So we are going to be looking at spacing and how to do dot painting. So let's first start by preparing the canvas. Then we'll talk about paints and tools that you can use. So I'm just using a 4-inch square canvas that I got at Dollar Tree. It's actually a magnet on the back of this one. So there's 2 different ways that you can obviously find the center. You can measure it and mark your center and then, you know, measure on this one and mark it again and find out where you're supposed to be. But what I like to do is go corner to corner because sometimes these aren't really super square. So even if you do measure exactly in the middle, it doesn't really help. So I line my ruler up with the corners, and I'm actually not going to do a full line across. I'm just going to do a little bit of one because I just want this center square. The reason I'm not putting a ton of guidelines on this is because depending on what you're using, it can distort the shape of your dots. I'm using a charcoal pencil, and I have found that it almost pinches the dots. So even once I put this on, I'm actually going to erase it a little bit. But I really want to also not use guidelines because I really want to show you guys how you can stay on top of your spacing and really perfect your spacing even if you don't have guidelines to help you along the way. Okay, I'm just going to scroll back. Did I miss anything? I feel behind every day, right? Some days I've been doing pretty good, but then this morning it was like I didn't have the things done that I wanted to do, and then it took longer at the post office. It just felt like it was one thing after another. And it feels like time is moving very fast today. I need to relax into this a little bit because I'm even talking faster than I normally do. All right, so once you go corner to corner, find the center. And then what I actually do, I'm using a charcoal pencil. You can use a regular pencil. You can use a pencil crayon. Don't really stress about that too much right now. But I would just go over it really lightly with an eraser just to get any buildup that could impact the shape of your dots, just to get that off of there. Okay, so we've got the center still marked here, but let's talk now about tools, because you don't need fancy dotting tools in order to be able to do dot painting. You can use the end of a sharpened pencil. You can use the unsharpened end of a pencil. You can use pencil erasers. You can use ends of crochet hooks. I use a lot of toothpicks, drill bits, pens, ends of paint brushes. What you really want to do is make sure you've got an array of sizes. So when you're looking at the different sizes that you want, Barb, who's on this as well, she actually went to the dollar store and got some wooden dowels in the different, like a big pack of like 50 of them for $1.25 or something, and used a pencil sharpener and just sharpen them down to the different sizes that you want. So there's lots of ways that you can do this without spending a ton of money. The tools that you're going to see me use a lot are going to be toothpicks. I also use a set of nail dotting stylus tools. So these are tools that have little round metal balls at the end. You can get these off of Amazon. I sell them on my website as well. Only mine the ones that I have on my website have wood handles. So if it's something that you think that you're going to want to do on a regular basis, you certainly can. I think my sets are, how bad is this? I don't even know how much my sets are, like $3.50 or something like that. And then I also use these tools, which are DIY mandala stones. And these I got off of Etsy. These come in sizes from 1 millimeter all the way up to 28 millimeter. So you can see the size of that one, right? This set for me, I think I paid $45 for all of these tools. So they are expensive, but if it's something that you think you're going to want to do on a regular basis, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more with tools like that. I love those tools. Now, when I started though, I started off with crochet hooks. I went to Walmart and I bought about 6 different sizes of crochet hooks, and that's what I used. And then the next thing I bought was the nail dotting stylus tools. And they've come in really, really handy. But again, use a sharpened pencil, use a pin, a pen tip, anything that's round is going to work for you for this. And if you have, like I said, a good array of sizes, like 5 or 6 different sizes, then you'll be okay. Because you can also change the size of your dots by the amount of paint that you put on the tool as well. So the first thing that we want to do is place our center dot. So I am going to use my, I've got my rainbow palette here. So I have 8 colors. Now, just because I have 8 colors ready though, doesn't mean we have to use them. Depending on how I'm going to dot around my center dot, that is going to determine how many of these colors I can fit in my rotation around the circle. So what I usually do is say, what are say the 4 colors I want for sure to have on this. So I for sure want to do red, orange, yellow, and green. Okay, so I'm going to make my center dot red, and then I'm going to have a minimum of 4 colors that I want to have, but then I can add in the others if I have space, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So when you're placing your center dot, you're going to do a larger dot. I'm using actually a tool that's around a 17 millimeter. The nice thing about crochet hooks is they are in millimeters as well, so you can kind of go by the size. But the end of a pencil or a pencil eraser would be perfect for this as well, or a larger drill bit. So when you're dipping your tool in the paint, you kind of want just this little bit of paint on there. And then we're going to go in at a 45-degree angle and try and get it as close to lined up. That's why those little guidelines are still a little helpful there in the center. And try and get as close to on the center as we can. It doesn't have to be perfect, because it's letting go of perfection is a very, very useful thing to do in this art form. But we're gonna be fine with this as long as it's close, right? Sometimes I'll go back in with a toothpick just to kind of round out the edges. Especially on a canvas, they can be a little bit rough, so that can impact how smooth everything is. So that's where we're going to start though. Start with laying down your center dot. And if you're just practicing and you don't really care how centered it is on a piece, just stick the dot down anywhere. we are going to be able to create a nice, even, and uniform mandala around a center dot, no matter, excuse me, no matter where we put that center dot. Okay. So I'm going to start with a toothpick, and I'm going to use a toothpick for my first row around the center dot. As long as I'm not doing a super huge piece, I almost always start off with a toothpick, because this is going to be the smallest I'm going to get. So this is going to give me a really good indication on my spacing. My spacing. Oh my goodness. Sorry. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to pick a bright color just so you can see it. I'm going to actually start with the yellow. It does not matter which one you start with. I promise you, you can pick any one of them. So you want to see one that, you want to pick a color that's going to stand out for you so that you can kind of see where your spacing is. So I'm going to dip the toothpick into the paint, and I'm going to dot at 12 noon, or your North Pole. A little bit of ways from your center dot. Let me actually get a little bit closer here. Let's see if I can get a little closer without screwing anything up. Okay. Sorry, I was just fixing my lighting and I put my toothpick in my mouth. Sorry, I got quiet there. Okay, so I'm going to dot at 12 o'clock. Then I'm going to turn my canvas around, and I'm going to put this dot at 6 o'clock, or my South Pole. Let's see if I can do it this way, if this is a little bit better. I know there's a bit of shadow there. Sorry, guys. So now that the first yellow dot is at the South Pole, or 6 o'clock, now I'm going to go in and put another dot in at 12. Remember that these are your smallest ones, okay? And then I'm going to turn it sideways. So I'm now at 9 and 3 o'clock, or east and west. And I'm going to go again to north, or 12. And then I'm going to spin it around again so that 12 becomes 6. And there we go. Okay, so once you get your poles painted, you're welcome, Rex. You're most welcome. I hope everybody can see okay. I'm going to play with the lighting a little bit over the next couple of days too, and see what might work a little bit better. But we'll see what happens here today. Because that red paint is very shiny. So I feel like we're getting a lot of glare. Actually, hold on one second, you guys. I'm going to turn off a different light. I'll be right back. That might help us a bit. Let's see. How's that? Does that still look okay? I feel like that might be a little bit better for us. I think that looks a little bit better, eh? That might be even better. Okay, I'm trying not to screw this up here. All right, so is everybody okay with this? So we've got the poles marked, and now that you have your poles marked, then what you can do is, I would start just with going in with 3 or 4 colors. Take this same color again, and now you're going to mark halfway in between. So divide those first spaces created by the yellow in half. Okay. Once you divide those, all 4 of those in half, you should be able to guess and see that you should be able to get 3 more dots in that half that's left. If you can't, that's okay. You want to try and guess how many of those same size dots you can get in there. This is why I start with a toothpick, because I've got the biggest chance of having the most space around the center dot. Now, if you can't fit that many, then it means a couple of things. Maybe we need either a smaller tool, or it means that we need a larger center dot, because the larger the center dot, the more space there is to go around the outside. Okay, I hope that's making sense to everybody. So if you can get 3 dots, if you can get 2 dots, if you can only get 1 dot in between, that is totally okay. I'm going to go forward as if we have 4. Okay, so my order of colors is red, orange, yellow, and green. Okay, so I put the yellow in already. So then what I want to know is I want to divide this space in half. So I know that there's going to be a color in between yellow and this color, and in between this color and the next one before the yellow. So I'm going to go 2 colors over from yellow, which is red. Okay. If you are putting 2 dots in there, you just go in whatever order you want and just keep your order the same going all the way around. So for me, for spacing though, I like to go in and try and make sure that I divide that space in half again. It's so much easier if you can get the 3 dots in between, because then you have this chance to divide the space in half. I get really quiet when I'm doing these little ones. And the lighting's not great for me, so I'm going to play around with that again here for a second once I get these ones done. Oops. And I'm going to move the camera angle so you can actually see more than just my hand. I'm so glad you guys are here. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. This is awesome. This is so fun. So I'm going to move this down here a little bit. And I know we're going to get a little bit of glare, but hopefully everybody can see okay and it's not too bad. Oops. Let's see. Let's see how that does for a little while. Okay, so now that we have this, we now have spaces now in between the yellow and the red. You don't have to go any tighter than this if you don't want to. I always start really, really tight so that I can do a big spiral, but you could totally start with spaces in between here. This is all about playing with what kind of aesthetic you like. If you want to be able to have, I'm going to bring this piece in for a second. If you want to be able to have space in between your dots to do little accent dots like this, then maybe leaving spacing a little bit more open in the center here is going to work best for you. This is really all about playing, right? I tend to naturally gravitate towards making things as tight and as detailed as humanly possible, but there are a lot of artists that are really, really good at spacing it out so they can put that little dot detail in there as well. So it's really going to take playing with this pattern over and over and over again to find out what you really, really like to do. Okay, I'm going to keep going in though, and we're going to fill in these colors. So I'm going, the orange is going in between the red and the yellow. And if you guys have any questions, please make sure you ask them in the comments, especially if you're painting along. Canvas isn't one of my favorite things to paint on, just because it's rougher. But you could use something, it's called gesso. You can buy it at Michael's, and that can help to smooth out your surface a little bit. So a couple of coats of gesso on a canvas would smooth it out so you don't have the fibers as much. I'm just too lazy to do it, to be brutally honest with you. I have seen that there is black gesso out there because I didn't want to put on clear gesso and then 2 coats of black paint. That just seemed very labor intensive to me. So what you could do is buy black gesso, and that would get rid of the base painting as well, the base coat painting. So now I'm going in with the green in between the yellow and the red. So this is how I divide everything up. Is this making sense to you guys? Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Now for the next row though, I'm going to mix it up a little bit on you. We're only going to choose one color. So whatever colors that you have in there, I want you to choose one of those colors, and we're going to do an entire row of that one single color. I'm going to stick with the green, and I'm going to go up to a slightly larger tool. If you don't have something, if the gap between your toothpick and your next larger tool is fairly large, then what you can do is just put a little bit more paint on the tool. So if I was doing this, sorry, I know it's blurry. How can I get rid of that blur? So if I was to just put a little bit more green paint on the toothpick, it'll create a slightly larger dot. Okay, so what we're doing is we want to go slightly larger, and we're going in that space in between the two dots. So like in between the yellow and the orange, that's where my next green dot is going to go. Now I do every other one. You could start doing that for every single space that you have going all the way around. The reason I do every other one is it helps me to keep my spacing more even. We all kind of naturally lean to one side or another. So if I was to do like 1, 2, 3, 4 right in a row, they'd probably all bunch up in a certain direction. Okay? So that's why we're doing every other one. Oops. But we're going to go back in after. Okay, Rex, we'll see you when you get back. So you can create a slightly larger dot just by putting a little bit more paint on your tool. I could have gone with the same size dot and just had a little bit more space to play with too. The options are absolutely endless, which is why I don't want to make these tutorials. Here's my painting, I want you to try and make it look the same. Because it's all going to depend on what tools you have and what paints you're using. There's so many things that could kind of get in the way of that. This is a really, really good pattern to practice as often as you can, because it will help you to get more comfortable with spacing, and it'll help you get really comfortable with your tools. When you're using your tools too, I forgot to mention this, make sure that you are wiping your tool off either on a cloth. I wipe mine on my hand. And make sure you're cleaning it off, because if you're not cleaning it off, the paint will build up on the tool, and then it will change the size of your dots as well. Ish. Wouldn't the green dot of the second row just go beside the green dot of the first row? Yeah, I'm doing the whole row though. I'm going to do this whole ring in green. Before we get into how to space out the rest of the spiral, I'm just doing a solid row. Good question though. I just want to do a solid row just to demonstrate the spacing and make sure that it's really, really clear. Because you'll see a lot of designs that have just a single color in an entire row. And this is how you would do spacing with that. So even just doing a mandala where it's nothing but the exact same color row after row after row, just slightly getting larger with your dots, that is an incredible exercise to go in and practice your spacing. Just get used to doing those concentric circles. And what you'll start to find is that you always use the exact same tools over and over again, because you know how they're going to behave. You know that they create the right sizing that you want to have going all the way around. And they'll help you create the effect you want. Okay. I'm doing a whole row of green all the way around. I just wanted to do that for spacing. We're going to come back to the spiral in a second, but we've got the groundwork laid out down here, and now we're just going to do a couple of rows of just solid color, and then we're going to go back to the rainbow when they're, I want the dots to be a little bit bigger so they're a little easier to see too. So now I'm going to go up another size, and this time I am going to do another row of red. And we're still going to do just a single color on this row. Okay, just slightly bigger than the row before. Right, make sure you're cleaning off your tool lots. So you dip and then you dot, and then you dip and then you dot, and you dip and dot over and over and over again. So I'm going every other one again just to have that spacing. Right? This can help you, like if the spacing goes a little wonky on a previous row, this is how you can kind of almost clean it up a little bit by doing every other one, because then even if the one that goes in between isn't perfectly centered over the space, that's okay, because your row is still going to look really symmetrical. And your spacing between each dots in the row is still going to be symmetrical. So we go every other one all the way around. This is just to practice your spacing. Okay, I clean off my tool on my hands, but you can use a cloth. I like having paint on my hands at the end of the day, so I get a lot of enjoyment out of looking at what colors I have on my hands and thinking about what colors I worked with that day. Because once you get the first row, the only way you really need to do the north, south, east, and west poles is when you're first starting off. Once you've got that first row done, then you can start to work in the spaces of the row previous and not have to just do your spacing by doing the poles. So I find I only need to use the poles or the clock method on the very, very first row around the center dot, because there's no groundwork really laid for me there. But you totally could. You totally could. And when we get back to the spiral, it's going to look like I'm doing exactly that. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope I answered the question-ish. All right, so let's start back with our spiral. Okay, so I just wanted to do those couple single rows. So I'm going to go to a slightly larger tool again, or you can use the same tool and just add a little bit more paint, whatever works for you. So I'm going to go to a slightly larger tool, and this time I am going to go with the poles. Okay, so I'm going to pick where I want my first dot to go, and we're going to say right here. Oops, I didn't have enough paint on there. If your dot doesn't go round, it's either the surface or you didn't have enough paint on the tool. So I'm actually going to change the size here. So now I'm going to go with the poles. Now the problem, here's the one thing about going with the poles at this point though, is that you always have the chance that you're eyeballing it wrong. So what you could also do is just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where the next one goes. That might be a little bit safer. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just doing this with one color, leaving the 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th. And then we keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm counting the dips between the 2 dots, right? Those little spaces in between. Skip a space, 2, 3, and then on the 4. So that does the division there for you too. Okay, so now, again, when I'm looking at my color line, right, because I've got red, orange, yellow, and green that I'm doing on this one. So I want to now go, because I want to divide this space in half, I'm going to go 2 colors over, because I've got a space in between, and then I'm going to do a dot here. So that's how I choose my color. I'm going 2 colors over. So I am going to the green. Hello, Jerry Lynn. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to see you. If you have questions, please make sure you ask and let me know, because I'll just keep talking like you've assumed, like you've understood what I've gone over. So if there's anything you want me to go over again, please let me know. How do you measure the distance between one row and the next? How do you make sure you're not dotting too close or too far? Really, really, really good question. Okay, so let's see if I can get down a little bit even closer here. I think that's as close as it's going to let me go. So what I look for is how far, sorry for the shadow here, guys, is how far away I want to be from the row previous. If your paints are really watery, go a little bit further away because they're going to spread and have the chance to run back in there. It's really about how much space you want to be in there. So what I usually do is I place the first dot, and if I'm happy with the placement, I just take a quick look at, okay, well, how far out is that from the previous row? And then I try to create that same distance out on every other dot that I put down. Does that make sense? So you're creating the first little bit, and then you're just comparing it and trying to replicate it on all of the other ones. If you make a mistake, if you dot too close, sometimes it'll happen where there'll be a little piece of hair, dog fur in my case, that'll go in there and maybe impact the shape of the dot, or your distance, or your hand shakes, or you sneeze, or something like that happens. You can always, always, always paint back over it in your base color. That's why I use black, and then be able to just go back in and fix whatever the mistake is. Now I'm going to bring this light back down here a little bit. That's a little better, isn't it? Actually, yeah, that's a lot better. At least from my end. Hopefully that's a lot better for you guys too. So now I'm going with my other color. I know my yellow is going to go between my green and my orange. So I'm going in with my other color. So this is the same thing that we did on the very first row. Okay. And like I said, if you only had one color and all you were doing was doing this pattern over and over and over again, creating row after row after row, that's when you really get into your spacing. The thing that's honestly really frustrating me with this is the canvas. The fact that it's canvas, it's not very smooth, so my dots are not perfectly round, and that's really eating at me right now, to be honest with you. I really don't like it. That's why I like working on stones. That's why I like working on wood that's sanded nice and smoothly. Ceramic, glass, plastic, all of that stuff. I would say wood and plaster or cement or stone, manufactured stone, is my favorite to work on because it's so nice and smooth. Canvas, unless you've done that gesso prep or like 5 coats of black paint, you're gonna get the texture that's going to potentially get in the way. Yep, just like Barb did. Oh no. Is this all making sense though, you guys? Hi Rex, welcome back. Okay, so now I'm going in with my red in between in the last remaining space. Now, notice how tightly close my dots are together. So if I wanted to add any of that detail in between, like some little tiny dots for some detail like I did on that other piece, I don't have space to do that here. So the only way to rectify that is to use smaller dots and space them apart a little bit more. But this is still a really good way to start to get nice and comfortable. So now we're going to go to the next row, but we're going to continue the spiral design this time. So I'm going to go back in with my red, and I'm going to go with a slightly larger again. So either a slightly larger tool or a little bit more paint on the same tool. And I'm going to put it just in the space between the red and the green. I could put it in the space between the red and the orange that I want to. That would just affect the direction of the spiral. But now that I've decided this, that I'm going to put it between the red and the green, I'm going to put it between the red and the green in every single instance, right? So just a slightly larger dot of the same color, but up and to the right. Okay, so up and to the right. And up and to the right. Right, so you're just repeating the same placement all the way around. Right, breaking it down like this and putting all of the dots in one color is going to help you with your pattern. It does look like Skittles, doesn't it? I love Skittles. I I have to get some Skittles next time I go to the dollar store. Now I always do the middle one, so I know that I'm going to be putting green here between green and the yellow. Yellow is going to go between the yellow and the orange, and then orange is going to go between the orange and the red. Yes, we're working on spirals. So because I still like to divide it in half, I'm going to skip over the green and I'm going to do the yellow. So I'm going to do the yellow between the yellow and the orange. Spirals and spacing, my dears. That is the theme for the day. Oh, I really hate working on canvas. Why did I do this? I promise you guys the next one, I will get the gesso, or I will put more coats of paint on so that these dots are better. And if you're going to work on canvas, do the same. I would highly recommend, instead of canvas, I would recommend buying the wood panels that you can get at the dollar store instead of canvas if you can. Even canvas boards are a little bit better, but not too much. Do you dip your tool in paint after each dot? Does it depend on the thickness of the paint itself? 100%. So every time you put a dot down, you dip and you dot, and you dip and you dot. And the size of your dot is going to be dependent on how much paint you put on your tool with each dip, how often you're cleaning your tools, and with the thickness of the paint. So one thing that's really good about doing an exercise like this is it helps you to really compare the consistencies of the paints and the different colors that you're using and really get to know your tools and say, okay, if this is a waterier paint, this particular tool gives me this kind of dot, but when I put it in thick paint, you're going to start to see the size differences, right? Does that make a little bit of sense? So you almost, like, I've gotten to a point now where I know my tools, right? So I know what kind of dot they're gonna create. When you're in doubt with what you're going to do, always, always, always go with a tool smaller than what you think you want, just in case. So, okay, so you're putting it above the space in between and not on top of the next one. Yes, always work in the spaces between the dots on the row before. Okay, so see how this one is sitting kind of like it's being held between those two dots there? Yeah, it feels like it's not really very well focused for me either. Is that a little bit better? I zoomed out, and then I also think it's moving a little bit too, which doesn't help. How does this look? Is this a little bit better? I hope this is easier to see. So see how this yellow dot is kind of nicely held up by the space in between these two, right? And you're always trying to kind of replicate how far away from that little bucket you're putting the next dot, if that makes sense. Is that a little bit better? Let me know if that focus is a little bit better. We're going to go in. So I'm putting it in between the yellow and the red in all of the spaces. Right? In between the yellow and the red. In between the yellow and the red. In between yellow and the red, and last one. Does this make sense? A little better, still out of focus a bit. Oh, okay, it's good now? All right, awesome. Oh, that's a good idea, Rex. That's a really good one. Yes, the cradle, it's cradling that dot above it, and I just about dropped that lid in the whole thing. Wouldn't that have been horrible? Oh, okay. But it didn't happen, so we're good. All right, sorry for the shadow here. I'm just getting the lid off of my green. So we're gonna go in now with the final color. Putting that in the space between the red and the yellow. So what I really like about this idea of always dividing the space in half is now I'm not only looking at where it aligns with the cradle there, but I'm also making sure that it is actually in the middle between those two dots to try and get the spaces there to make sense, right? So it gives you an extra point of measurement almost, where I'm not only looking at how far away from the cradle I am, but I'm looking at how far in between the other two dots. What do we do if we accidentally dot in the wrong space? Very, very good question. So you can use a Q-tip, you can use a paintbrush, you can use makeup remover sponges. I have these little tools that have silicone brushes on the end that you can actually pull the paint off. If it's wet, try and scrape some of that off, but the worst thing that's going to happen is you can let it dry, paint back over it with your black base color, and then go in and redo the dot with the correct color. It happens. It will happen. It will happen. It 100% will happen at some point. It's just a matter of when. I think the blur is coming too-ish because I'm shaking the table when I'm talking because my arms are on the table. I'll try and get a more stable place to attach. I think I can put it on my other table that I don't even touch during these lives. So I'll try that for the next one. But I think that's causing some of the blur. So how's everybody doing? Does everybody have 2 rows of the now alternating colors? Dotting in the wrong space. I'm dotting more black, right? Yeah, when you get started with this, that's exactly what's going to happen. You are going to spend a lot of time painting over stuff. It's getting the pattern, right? I find with dot mandalas, that's the biggest thing of all of it, is get into the pattern, really sink into it. That's where it becomes a very meditative practice, right? Taking a sip of my tea. It becomes very meditative, but you can get into a bit of a rhythm of it. Right? And when you get into the rhythm of it, you're looking for the repetition of patterns. Our brains like those patterns and it's calming for us. So when you're painting on your own, I talk to myself a lot. Like just like I did when I was painting there with you guys, between the yellow and the red, between the yellow and the red, between the yellow and the red. I do that a lot. I'll count a lot. If I know that I'm doing 8 dots of a particular color, then I say 8 times I'm gonna move that along, right? So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and count them as I go all the way around. It's getting into that pattern. For dot painting, I'd recommend using your craft acrylics, or if you want to use heavy body acrylics, you want to water it down with some pouring medium. I have not done that yet. I've only done this with craft acrylics, and I love them. And part of the reason is because I really like matte finished paints, and a lot of the heavier body acrylics that I've come across anyway, again, I haven't spent a lot of time with them, have been semi-gloss or high gloss paints, and I really, really like a matte finish. So that's why I use a lot of the craft acrylics, and I just make sure I don't buy the satin or gloss. I just buy the regular stuff, and it's usually matte. If it's too watery, you only really have a couple of options. I've seen some people mix in cornstarch to thicken their paint, but I haven't tried it myself, so I really don't want to advise on that one unless you want to get brave and watch a YouTube video or something. I can't offer any, excuse me, any advice on that one myself. But the other option is to have some heavy body acrylic paints handy, even just a couple of cheaper sets that you could mix in with any thin paints that you have. Like it might change the color slightly, but it might be a worthwhile thing to have on hand to help thicken that up. What you're really looking for when you're talking about consistency is when I'm looking at this paint pot and I stir it around, see when I lift this out, that little peak starts to disappear pretty quickly. See, it doesn't stay up there. They're really thick paints. That peak will stay there and it won't go away. So I'm looking for something that's kind of that consistency. That you see the peak for a little bit, but eventually it folds back down. If that peak goes away right away, then that's how you know your paints are very, very watery. Hope that helps. Thank you, Ish. I love you. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? Is everybody doing okay? If we have 2 rows now, we're going to go on to the next row. So I'm going for a slightly larger tool again. And I'm going to do my green, and I'm going to do my green in the cradle. I'm totally going to use that, Rex, in the cradle between the green and the yellow dot in this row. Okay. And I think I saw, did I see Denise? Thanks for the tutorial. I'm going to try spiral. Yay! Have fun, Denise. Let me know if you have any questions that come up. See, now this one I did, and that was a little bit too big. So that is one that I'm going to have to fix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my tool that has the silicone end that I just had in my hand. And I put it somewhere. There it is. And I'm actually going to pull this paint off. Just get most of it off, and then I'm going to go back in. The reason I want to do this too is if the texture of the canvas can cause irregularities in the shape of the dots, then built up paint can do the same thing, right? It can work in your favor or it can go against you. So I just try and get as much of the wet paint off as I possibly can. And then I use craft acrylics in black. And I have a little tiny paintbrush, or you could use a toothpick or anything that you have. And let me just grab it. I think the next one too, I'll have to make sure that I do a quick jump on camera and say hi to you guys face to face. I didn't do that this time. We just jumped right into it. We'll get it down pat as we continue to do these. Are you guys liking this format so far? Like, is this helpful? Is this fun for you? Let me know. And if you listen really, really carefully, you can hear Fred, one of our donkeys, braying in the background. Thanks for the tutorial. What paint do you use for glass? Any specific paint? So when you're using painting on glass or ceramic or tile, anything, or plastic, I made painted on plastic Christmas ornaments, I would recommend using multi-surface paint. So you can get multi-surface paint, just make sure it says multi-surface right on it. And there's two different ways that you cure this paint. If you are using ceramic, tile, or glass, you can bake it in the oven. Where's my other one? So for example, this Deco Art multi-surface paint, you place it in a cool oven and set the temperature to 325 and bake it for 30 minutes, and that cures it right away. If you let it air cure, it takes 7 to 21 days to air cure. So if you're going to use multi-surface paints on things like plastic Christmas ornaments like I did, you need to be able to have somewhere to store them to dry for at least 7 days, preferably up to 21 days. Multi-surface paint takes a much longer time to cure. So in a perfect world, you can use it to paint on things like ceramic, glass, tile, that sort of thing, and be able to bake it. Okay? Nebedita, did I say your name right? It's such a beautiful name. It's like interactive Bob Ross. This is great. Yay! That's fantastic. I'm so happy. That's fantastic. Oh, it's the best thing I could hear. And Dan, yes. So we, for those of you who don't know, we have 3 donkeys. We have Indy, and we have Indy, Fred, and Dan. We are in the process of starting up an animal sanctuary. So they are some of the critters. Okay, let's get back to painting though. That's what we're here for. So I'm gonna go, I went down a size in my tool, and I'm gonna dot here. Now, bear with me one second because I'm gonna show you how I knew that that dot was too big. So, oh, you're most welcome, Nebedita. I hope I'm saying your name right. I want to because it's so pretty. Okay, so when you are looking at the cradle, right? Let's talk about the cradle. When you're coming out here, you're almost kind of going straight here, and then you're coming out straight here, right? This dot that you're placing in between those kind of center points, if it goes bigger and goes over those center points, then you're going to run the risk of running dots together. So you can kind of see that I'm very, very close to where that center point is there and there, so that the next dot that I place in that cradle, if it's too big, it's going to run into that dot and we're not going to have the nice space in between each. So that's how I knew that my dot was too big, because it was kind of overflowing that center point. That's where looking at it this way and always dotting across from you can be really, really helpful, because it can let you see those kind of points and the spacing that you want to kind of stay on top of. Right? I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions on that, you guys. Let me just keep going. And then there we go. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yay, I'm glad I got it right. Fantastic. All right, so now we're gonna go, I'm gonna just keep doing the midpoints, right? So this one, I'm gonna go back in again and I'm gonna do the orange because that's the midpoint in there. And I'm gonna keep dividing this space in half, okay? Again, the dots aren't perfectly round because I, for some reason, chose canvas. And it's so funny because every time I try canvas, I'm like, I'm gonna do some more canvas work. And then I do, and I get frustrated because of the fibers in it. So you'd think I'd learned my lesson, but apparently I haven't. So now I'm going in, and again, going to the right. You want to change the direction of your spiral, then put it to the left. The thing I like about this pattern and with the spirals is it kind of progresses fairly quickly. You can get through quite a few rows fairly quickly, especially once you start kind of get into the flow of it. Let's keep going here. All right. Can you guys still see okay? Are we doing all right with that? If you have any questions at all, please let me know. So just by putting the dot to the right and not directly on top, I always go into the cradle. I'm always working all of my patterns into how the next row of dots will fit into the cradle created here. I'm totally loving that terminology, Rex. Can we use any surface to dot if we don't have canvas? Yes, you can use paper, you can use Bristol board, you can use wood. Honestly, the smoother the better, to be brutally honest. Canvas is one of my least favorite things to dot on. You can dot on wood and just sand it down really well. You don't even have to sand it down, it'll still work. You can use wood, you can use ceramic, you can, like ceramic tiles and ceramic mugs are wonderful to paint on. But the thing to remember is that the smoother your surface is, the more your paint is going to spread out when you dot it. So if you are used to painting on, like I am on stone, for example, which is not super, super smooth like ceramic, right? I have to adjust my tool sizes and almost use tools that are a little smaller than what I would normally use, because the paint is going to spread farther when I'm painting on a super smooth surface. So if I use a size 3 on a stone, I would use a size 2 on a piece of ceramic or glass or plastic that's really, really smooth. Wood and stone are about the same. Sometimes a little bit more spreading, but you also run the risk of the grains impacting the shape of the dot on wood. But for the most part, wood and stone are very, very similar. And then canvas would be more equivalent to like poorly sanded wood, I guess, would be the best idea. But you can paint on absolutely anything. You could do this with watercolors. You could do this with oils. You could do it with whatever kind of paint you want. It's just about the consistency and how you're going to lay out your patterns, right? So see, we can start to see the spiral really starting to come together. I always find this part really gratifying when you really start to see the pattern come out. Like I'm starting to see it. And after a couple more rows, it's really going to jump out at you. And that's when it gets really, really fun. All right, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to keep going. We're just going to keep doing this row after row after row after row until we fill this entire space. That's all we're doing. So it's as you can see, it's really, really good practice for spacing and for just getting to know your tools and getting to know your paints. Now, actually, while we're sitting here, if I had wanted to make this into the full 8 colors of the rainbow, then what I would have done is I would have only done red at 12, 6, 9, and 3, and then I could have done all of those colors there, right? So this one didn't have to be red. I could have kept going. I could have gone red, orange, yellow, green, blue. It's my teal, my blue, my violet, and my pink. And I could have had that repetition going on as well. So that's why if you can get it into groups of 4, because then you don't have to do a 4 repetition, you could do an 8 repetition all the way around. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Jerlyn, I want to sew a wigwag now. I'm still stuck in ornament heaven though, are you? I'm so done with ornaments. I'm so done with ornaments. I'm so ready to be done with ornaments. I'm ready to start on next year. I did buy some more for next year though. I got a lovely gift from a friend of mine who bought me the clear ornaments that I used. They were on sale at Michael's for 50% off, and she bought me 5 containers of them. So I have 125 blank ornaments that I get to start working on so that I can really be ready for next year. So I'm really excited about that. I'm getting to the point now where I'm ready to get back to other projects. I have 30 to whip out and ship Monday morning. Oh my gosh. We're at that point now where the Canada Post isn't doing any guarantees for shipping anymore. So we're kind of at that point where, you know, anything is a risk, anything mailed out, especially if it's going too far. Yeah, isn't that a lovely gift? So again, just a little bit larger than the row before. And how, like, I could go even smaller than this, and then that's just going to increase the space in between, right? In between my dots in the row. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah, it's pretty cool, eh, Jerlyn? So depending on what you're painting on and how big your canvas is and all of that sort of stuff, that's why you can really kind of see how this can take a lot of time, right? Like if we were doing a big piece, we could be sitting here working on this for 5-6 hours, right? So we want to try and at least just get you started and then inspire you for what you're going to do for the rest of it. Jerlyn, thankfully 4 of them are local. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really, really good. Any suggestions on sealants or varnish brand for wooden canvas? Okay. This is the fun part. For high gloss, I honestly think now, I haven't tried Mod Podge Gloss, but I've tried Mod Podge Matte. And I used to use Liquitex Artist matte finish, and I never got a beautiful matte finish like I've gotten on these stones. I am so head over heels in love with these stones. I can hardly even stand it. And this is because of the Mod Podge matte sealant that I used. So for the stone, I would use this on wood. I would use it on canvas as well if you want a really matte finish. Now, if you want a semi-gloss or a high gloss, then Liquitex or Folk Art would be really, really good. And they would give you a really good sealant. You want to look for things that are important to you. Like, do you want it to be UV protected? Do you want, what kind of finish do you want? Do you want to photograph it? If you want to photograph it and potentially create prints out of it, the tip that I heard from that is to take a photo of it before you varnish it, because then you won't get as much glare. So if you know it's a piece that you want to have a high gloss varnish on it at the end, if you want to photograph it and use it to make prints, make sure you don't varnish it before you take those photos. Right? Does that make sense? Do you sell your mandalas? Do you have an Etsy shop or website? I do sell my stuff. I have a website. It's mandalaloveaffair.com. There's a link in my bio. And if you want a copy of this tutorial as well to watch again, you can actually go to my website. I have a space for tips for the lives. You know, I love doing these. I'm happy to do them, and you certainly do not have to pay anything to join the lives and to take part. But any tips that are left for $5 or more, and I'll send you access to the recording of the video so you can watch it as often as you'd like. And I sell all of the stuff that I paint. I usually have 4 or 5 projects on the go at any given time, and they'll usually all take a decent chunk of time to finish. So I update the website probably every 2 to 3 weeks with new products. I do jewelry. I'm just starting to make incense holders, decorative stones. I make decorative stones with paw prints in the middle, and I call them paw nuggets. There's some digital work that I've done on there, like downloadable coloring pages, things like that as well. So yeah, check it out and let me know. If there's something that you're looking for and you don't see it on my website, just shoot me a message on either Instagram or Facebook and let me know what it is you're looking for. And if I can help you, I will definitely do that. We'll figure it out. Rosie, oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. These spirals are so much fun. Like, even just with this one pattern and one design, and you think about if by varying the size of the dots and what kind of space you leave in between and what kind of detail you could add there, to the different color combinations and patterns you could go with, like, it's what I liked about this one. Like, I could have done a full spiral on this incense holder that went straight out from the middle and did a full spiral and just kept following it out this way, but you can play with it. You can get creative with what you want to do with your patterns and your spirals. So there's so much you can do just with this one pattern. That's why I think it's a great place to start. Ish, you remember the box that I made? This is the same pattern, only I'm doing spiral colors. The box that I made that had the almost flowers that looked like they were going from the light colors in the middle to the outer part. This is all the same pattern. This is all the same, just doing row after row after row and then just varying the colors that you do. Let me see if I can find one to show you what I mean by that. Here, actually, I'll show you this box so I can give you another idea of what this pattern can do. Because if you can be inspired, or if you have the inspiration to do, like if you're starting to sit and go, oh, I would love to do this again, but I'd love to do it with these colors or this many colors and see what happens here. There are so many things you can do, and I promise you that if you sit and practice this technique and this pattern for a long time, this is the other one that I did, and with just color variations, starting with light colors in towards the center and getting darker towards the edge. There are so many projects that you can create, and the practice that you get is just going to be phenomenal for you. You get so much practice. And that's when you start to get really, really comfortable with your tools and really, really comfortable with your paints. And you start to perfect your spacing and really get to know what kind of effects you can create. So my biggest recommendation, honestly, would be if you're new to dot painting or if you feel that you want to practice your spacing some more, say, I'm going to just keep doing this pattern in as many different patterns, color combinations as I possibly can to just really get it down. And it's a great way to do that. Safa, so okay, so I heard you were on when I mentioned about the being able to get a recording, so that's good. Okay. Hey, Kath. For anyone just joining, we are learning. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Ish. You're welcome, you guys. Love you. I know you love that box. Yes, Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Barb, for reminding me. If you are one of my Patreon subscribers, you will automatically get sent the access to every recording of every live that I do. So you can pay for them individually for for $5 each, or you can subscribe to my Patreon. I'm going to have 2 different tiers available, one to get you the entire month and one just to get you a couple. But that is going to be, I have to set that tier up to get you all of them. And that will get them to you for $15 a month. My existing patrons that have been with me since the beginning of my Patreon, you guys will get access to every live tutorial, but any new patrons, it's going at the level that you're at. And then any new patrons will be $15 a month for access to every single tutorial I do. And my plan is to do them weekly. So I want to be putting out a new tutorial for you guys every single week and being able to spend hopefully every Saturday with you. And we'll mix up the times a little bit too, depending, because I know time zones can be an issue. So we'll mix up the time zones a little bit as well as we get going here. And that'll work fine for me too, so it'll work out lovely. Thanks, Barb. Thank you for asking. I forgot to mention that. So I will get that new Patreon tier set up later today. So if it is something that you think you'd want to do and subscribe for a month as a monthly basis to get every single live, I will have that out tomorrow. So keep an eye on my page. Once I've actually got it set up, I will put a post out on my Facebook page to let you know that it's done and ready to go. All right, so we're just going to keep going here. Just keep going. Slightly larger, and do that dividing your space in half. Because yes, it's important how far away from the cradle, the dip between the 2 dots in the previous row, but it's equally as important to be at a good space between the dot before and after it. I hope that makes sense. Let me know what color combos you guys are using. Are you using the same ones that I am? What are you using? Now see how my spacing is, I've got a little bit more spacing between the dots going all the way around here, and especially this one here. That means that my red was probably a little bit small. My yellow might have been a little bit small. Or I just might have chosen a small size tool for this entire row, and that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to go up to a larger and keep going. Barb's doing rainbow-ish. What if you only have one size daughter? Will this design still work and look good? Yes, totally. Because you can always fill in the blank spaces with other dots and other patterns, right? So if you follow this same kind of premise, and because you can get a couple different size dots from every tool, then you could still create the design and then go back in and fill with other things. Of course, to get the gradual enlargement of the spiral, you do need to have tools of different size. But don't forget, you don't have to have expensive dotting tools. And really, even the ones that I have, they're fairly reasonable, all things considered. You can get crochet hooks, plastic crochet hooks. You can use pencils. You can use drill bits. There's probably quite a few things you have around your house. You can use the ends of paintbrushes, the ends of pens, pencil erasers, anything that's round and flat. And you'll be able to get a good enough bunch of different sizes that could really help you create a pattern like this. Because part of the fun is that they get larger, right? Dark lavender, lime green, sienna, and yellow. Oh, beautiful color combo, Sharon. Or Luke, I like to use blue in its tone colors. Yes, perfect. So you could do blues and do something like these in the background, right? You could go from a very light blue to a very dark blue. You could alternate them back and forth. You could create a spiral just with one color. If you have one color of paint and you've got some black and you've got some white, you add some little bits of black and white, create a whole big rainbow there, and you can create tons and tons and tons of different designs. Tons of them. All right. Let's keep going. And I would recommend not using Canvas. I don't want to use Canvas again. So on the future tutorials, you'll see much prettier, rounder dots than you're seeing right now. You're most welcome. Most welcome. Any questions, please let me know. I'm just going to back that up a little bit. And now I'm going to move my arm for my camera on the next one to give us a little more stability. I think that will make life a little easier too. Oh, we already did orange. Whoops. Is there somewhere we can share a pic of our work with you? That is a really, really good question. Now, I haven't gotten anything set up yet, but you're more than welcome to send it to me. And if you'd like me to share it on my page and tag you in it, I'm happy to do that. If you have a TikTok, you can duet one of my videos and show me what you've done. I am thinking about creating a Facebook page, like a Facebook group though, where we could all kind of get together and share what we do, especially because we're probably not going to be finishing. Oops, I've missed a green. We're probably not going to be finishing these projects while we're on the live together, right? Because everybody's doing different sizes. So I think it would be really cool to have a Facebook page to do that. What do you guys think? Would you like me to set that up? Because that could be pretty cool. They look good though. Oh, yay, I'm glad you like them. I think it would be great to have a space where we could share all of that stuff together. I think that would be really, really fun. Rex, I got good results from using takeout chopsticks, both ends, different sizes. Fantastic. Yes. You go look and you're going to start seeing how many things you already have around your house that have a nice round, flat edge, right? Yes, you could totally do that too. So if you post it on social media, you post it on Facebook or on Instagram, you can tag me. You can use the hashtag Mandela Love Affair. I would love to see that. Because I would love to see what you create. Really, really good idea. I always forget about hashtags-ish. Did you know that I was 43 years old before I really understood what hashtags were and why anybody cared? Like, I had such a hard time wrapping my head around the whole concept of hashtags. Especially because you see stuff like, oh, living my best life. I'm like, who's going looking for that? Who's going looking for, I want to see what everybody else is posting about their best life. Like or long flight or something like that. I'm like, who's going and looking for that content? Like, I thought hashtags were supposed to make your content searchable. And I get it now. But it took me so long to wrap my head around hashtags. I had a really hard time. How do I seal my work? So on canvas or on stone, I will use, I just started using Mod Podge and using the matte finish to seal it. And I also will use satin or a high gloss artist varnish by Folk Art. That's the stuff that I really liked. You can also get it with Liquitex. I haven't used the Liquitex gloss varnish yet, but you could give it a shot as well. I think any of the artist varnish would do well for you. If it's something that's going to be outside, I would highly recommend getting some kind of varnish that is maybe used like after you paint your deck. You could varnish something like that and have it go outside, right? Because then you'd have some UV protection with that. So that's possible too. My mom called them pound sign for a while. Well, yeah, because that's what it always used to be, right? When it was just another button on the phone, it was pound sign. That's all it was. It's hard. It took me a long time to get used to that. So I'm just still going gradually larger and larger. I'm using the same size tool that I used for the row before. I'm just putting more paint on it. So I'm not cleaning off the tool as often. And when I do, I dip it in a little bit further. Because part of what creates the dots is how much paint you've got on the tool, right? If I only dip the paint in the tool in this much paint, oops, how can I show this? In this much paint, there's not as much paint to roll down and create the size of the dot. Whereas if I dip it in this much paint, it's going to have a lot more paint that's going to flow off of the tool and onto the canvas or the stone or whatever it is you're painting on. So be very mindful as well of how much paint you're putting on the tool, because that will have a big impact on the size of your dots too. Rex, I wasn't even ready for today. I will be ready next week, just watching today. That's okay. What if we don't have varnish? What is it necessary? Good, really, really good question. No, it's not necessary. Where it can get in your way to not varnish it is just keeping your piece clean. Like if you're hanging something on the wall, just keeping it dusted. So you just wouldn't want to dust it with anything wet. Like if you had to dust a rock that hadn't been varnished, maybe using a feather duster or something like that, because you don't want to risk that the paint would get watery and potentially wipe off. It really depends on where you're going to put it and what you're going to use it for, but it's definitely not mandatory. Mod Podge label heard is not watertight for outside. Very good point. Very, very good point. If you're going to do something outside, I would always make sure you read your labels and make sure that it is proved for weatherproof or weather-resistant finish. And usually the ones that have some kind of weatherproofing will say it right in the description on the product. And it will usually have some kind of UV protection as well, so that your colors don't fade if you put it out in the sun. Artist varnish will not necessarily do that, depending on the level, I guess, that you want to do that with. When we dot it, is it a quick peck and go or more of a place and hold method? Really, really good question. So that really depends on how big you want your dot to be. If I just quickly kind of tap this down, I could make a dot this size with this tool, or I can hold it down and make a much larger one, right? So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish with it and what size. A lot of dot artists will tell you that your tool is never supposed to even touch the surface. I've never had any issue with that, so I don't know why that is there. It could potentially maybe cause like dimpling in the paint or something, but I've never had any issues with it. So I've always just touched my tool down and allowed it to kind of spread out the paint. But how much you put your tool down will impact the size of your dot. Hi, Manon, you're back. It's good to see ya. I'm glad you're able to come back. Please know, too, that these lives are pausable and rewindable, so if you have to pee or something, and you can always pause it and come back and you won't miss it. I read that that's possible anyway, so apparently it is, so let me know. Now, whether it's leaving the app and coming back, what that would do to it, I'm not sure, but if you have to run to the washroom or you're going to get a drink or you need to stretch or any of those sorts of things, you should be able to do that with these lives, too. So let me know if you have any issues with that, if it doesn't work, because then I can look into maybe what settings and stuff I have going. There we go. Just cleaning off my tool. When I've got a lot of paint on my tool, I don't use my hand. It's just all the other times that I use my hand. You see, here's my hand from earlier. I'm wiping off all the dots. I love it. At the end of the day, I look at my hand and I'm covered in paint, and that's just so satisfying to me. I'm gonna have to zoom out again here because we're getting closer to we're getting bigger here. But do you see how this is such good practice for your spacing and getting to know your tools and getting to know your paints? You do, like I said, you do this same pattern over and over and over again with mixing up the color combos. You will have so many different designs and so much variety, and it will give you that practice to help you get really, really skillful at dot placement and sizing and how to load your tool, all of that good stuff. How do we varnish without potentially streaking the whole piece? So when you varnish, make sure that you have let your piece dry for a minimum of 24 hours, if not 48 hours. Never varnish too soon, because if the paint is still wet in any way, then it will smear. So when you go to finish the piece and you want to varnish it, make sure you let it dry for 24 to 48 hours before you attempt to do that. Everyone is watching soccer, so I'm side-eyeing that and watching this with crochet in my hands. Fantastic, Manon. That's awesome. Hey, Becca. All right, so I'm going to just lift this up again here. And we'll keep going. Can everybody still see okay? And like I said, for the next live, I will do some different camera placement. So hopefully it won't shake as much, because I think that's having to do with the glare. And I'll work on my lighting too. I have another ring light that I really need to get back up and running, but it doesn't move around and it's almost too big. So this one is perfect. It's just getting it in the right space, getting it in the right position. And I'm still learning how to do that, but it's really cool. Look, it just clips right onto my little basket here. And there's my ring light. Isn't that awesome? I love my ring light, Sharon. I love, love, love my ring light. It was a gift from a lovely, lovely new friend. What are you working on crocheting, Manon? What you making? And this is just literally just keep repeating this row over and over and over again until you get out to the sides. Now, if you wanted to, at any point in this, you could decide to do an entire solid row with a solid color like we did here in the middle, and then start the spiral again. That's what I did with this incense holder, right? I did those bands of solid color, and then I made the spiral go the other direction. I could do this row right now, and then the next row, I could change the direction of the spiral. You could do anything like that that you want to. Hey, Amanda. Good to see ya. Oops. A little watery, a little big. For bigger pieces, I have a Lazy Susan that I actually bought at Canadian Tire for $13. And I will put pieces on that so that it can spin it. This is definitely an art form that you need to be able to move whatever it is you're painting on. You need to be able to spin it around, get different angles on it. If you're not able to, it's still possible. However, it's going to be a little bit more difficult and could impact your spacing a little bit too, because if you're looking at things from different angles, right, that can have an impact. So let's go to yellow. So yeah, you could change the direction of the spiral. You could do one where the first 4 rows are all yellow, then the next 4 rows are all orange, and then the next 4 rows are all red. You could do this any way you want to, in any design that you want to. This is just a great, great design. I like these ones because they do up a little bit quicker than some of the more detailed ones. I like them because they're very meditative. These ones are very, very meditative. They're very calming to me because it's just a lot of repetition. Like, I'm not thinking and trying to figure out complex design ideas or anything. I'm just dotting. I'm just dotting in a circle and changing the color and going from there. Color combinations is one of the biggest things that you can do to mix up anything different, right? There's a lady on Instagram, and her shop is called Shop World Love. She does a lot of these different designs, and she does beautiful, beautiful stones. But these spirals and these concentric circles, even if they were all the same color or different variations, that's kind of what she does. And she does them exquisitely, because that's all she does, and she practices it all of the time. So her spacing is immaculate, and her dotting is perfection, because this is where she spends all of her time. So it's really all about the practice, and where can you spend that time practicing. A Scooty, a very thick and warm one. Oh, nice. What do you use for making the guidelines? You can use pencil You can use charcoal pencil. You can use chalk. I've heard some people use watercolor pencil crayon because then it just wipes off with a wet Q-tip or wet cotton swab. I personally use a charcoal pencil. I do want to try the watercolor pencil crayons. The thing to remember is that anything that you write onto your canvas with has the potential to impact the size and the shape of your dots because it will impact how the paint spreads. So paint will spread differently on top of this compared to on top of the canvas. So if I had a line here and did a dot on it, it would probably pinch in the dot. So it would almost look kind of like around the sides a little bit. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be round like this. It would be more kind of pinched in, more like that. So you want to be really careful that what you use isn't too waxy, or if it is waxy and you still need to use it for the guidelines, even a regular HB pencil, you don't want to press hard on the surface. You want to keep it nice and light so that it's got the least chance of impacting the shape of your dots. Really, really good question. Okay, are we doing okay still? Everybody doing okay? Any questions? All right, then let's keep going. Let me know if you have questions in the comments. Now, me and a couple of the folks from that are on my TikTok lives a lot, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'd like to ask them specifically, how is this going? Is this what you were hoping for? Is this what you had been expecting from our conversations? Let me know any feedback you have for me, guys. You're most welcome. You're most welcome, Raluca. Did I say your name properly, Raluca? I hope I am. Great questions, though. This is fun. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are. I love this. I love going live with you guys. Oh, thanks, Ish. Lovely. Barb, we good? Sharon, we good? Besides me just yelling at you right now, I didn't realize my phone was right next to my face, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just scream at you. Is it going good? Are we okay? I won't do that again. I'll start attaching a microphone instead. That might be a little bit better, so I'm not screaming at you by accident. Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks, Barb. I'm glad. I'm really, really glad. Sharon, how are you doing with spacing in your spirals? How you feeling with them? You having fun? Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yay. So this is good for our first one then. This is awesome. Oh, and I forgot one again. I forgot a yellow. All right, I'll go back and do that one after. Now, if we were to get into more complex patterns, would you guys want to sit longer than 2 hours? Like, is that just too intimidating? Is that too like, oh my God, I can't give you that much time. Are you crazy? Like, what do you think of when I mention that? That kind of idea. Yay, Jerry-Lynn's loving it. Yay, I'm so glad. I am so, so, so glad. This is so fun. Do not ask about my spacing, please. Okay, no problem. That's all right. Just keep going. Keep going and keep practicing. It will come. That's why I say this one is the best starter pattern, right? This is the best starter pattern. This is the best one to just spend an absolute crap ton of time on getting some practice. You do these over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, your spacing will come up really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. Even though I said over a bunch of times, I know that doesn't make it sound like it's that quickly, but it really will. But the most important thing, and so many of you have heard me say this before, and I will say it again for anybody new, if it is not fun for you, do not force yourself. The whole point is to have fun. It does not, your goal is not to be good at this, whatever that means. Everybody is good at everything that they do creatively because it's all them and it doesn't have to look like something else. This is not about becoming good with it. It's fun to become good with it, quote unquote, and to hone your skill. However, you have to have fun with it. If you're not having fun, you're not going to want to practice, plain and simple, right? You gotta be able to enjoy the practice. Yes, if the time is right. Okay, good. All right, perfect. Girl, I could watch this all day. And Sharon called bull on me. I'm so sorry, Sharon. Tell us what you're going through and let's see if we can help. Is it that the repetition hasn't helped? What other pieces of advice can I give you? If you have questions about what's going on with your paintings, let me know, because then I'll try my best to help you. So what can we help you with, Sharon? There are so many factors that impact the size and the shape of your dots, right? The paint is a factor. If you're working with some thick and some thin paints, then your muscle memory is going to change, right? Like I know how far to kind of dip my tool in and get into a bit of a pattern of dip and dot and dip and dot and dip and dot. But it's going to have different impact depending on the paint that I'm using, right? So there's so many different things that are in there. So let me know what you're coming across and I will do my best to help you. I'm going to put this down this way a little bit. See if that can at least give you a little bit better angle. Hopefully this will. As we get bigger, instead of just pulling out back and backing it up. So we're just slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you're starting to see spacing come up in here, right? You cannot help. I have to remove at least 4 dots at the moment. Oh, that's frustrating. You'll be okay though. Sometimes that's what you have to do. I've had pieces where I've had to paint over almost half of it and just start over and say, nope, didn't work. I've thrown stuff out. I've started over. I've painted over it. It happens. Now, one thing I want to show you, see this row here. What I find difficult in a spiral is picking out the rows going around, right? It's just a little bit harder to visualize. But this one here is all one row. And see how they have these nice spaces in between? This is because the dot is fairly small. And if you kind of continue with those kind of ideas, you can purposely create these little spaces in between that you could add little dot detail to. So that's where, when I was talking before about the spacing and how that kind of impacts what you can put in the middle and in between, it really is about choosing the dot size and the spacing between, and you have to get that started down here at the bottom. So like if I was to do this, I would have to space these out more, maybe do a slightly larger center dot, space these first round of toothpick dots out a little bit further, maybe do another round of toothpick dots and keep that space there. That can be a little bit different. I have my black out the entire time, totally. Like I don't even pour it out anymore. I just constantly have my lid and then I can shake it up and get some out of my lid. What if you notice a mistake after the paint has dried or a mistake in one of the inner rows? That is going back in with black paint again with your base color. Again, that's really why using a black base paint is so helpful, because it's so forgiving. Even if the paint has dried, you can always go back in with some black paint and paint over what you don't like and then redo it. 100%. I've had that happen before too. There's very often where maybe I'll be working on an outer row and a drip of paint will hit in the middle somewhere and I'll have to fix it after the fact. So I just get a really tiny paintbrush, the tiniest that you can, and you can get really nice tiny ones at Michael's. just make sure you take care of them, right? Because they fray really easy. But you can get really nice teeny tiny ones for $3 to $5. And it's worth being able to do that to get the super, super tiny ones. I lost your picture somehow. Oh, that's weird. Okay. All right, so Sharon will be back. All right. So let's move this. And we have yellow now. But it's coming together quickly, eh? Like, it's nice to have something that can come together nice and quickly. And then you can decide how much further you want to go with it. Like, one of the topics that we will cover multiple times in these tutorials is the concepts of top dots and adding the different details. But for right now, just get comfortable with the spacing. This is all about getting comfortable with the spacing, right? Making sure that you are comfortable with the patterns and the basics of it. And then top dots would be where we go in and we put different colors of paint on top of these dots to add either dimension or just to change up the colors a little bit. I'll show you a couple different ones just so you can kind of get that idea in your head of how you could add more detail to this as you go. The other area of opportunity for detail is how much space you have between the dots in each row so that you could add those little tiny dot details like I did on that incense holder. So for example, for top dots, let me show you two different ways. So one way is, I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. One way is different colors. So you can, how can I get this in a good light for you to see this? Hang on a second. Let's do this, and then let's just zoom in with the camera. Okay, so you see on the center dot there where I have 4 different colors of green paint on the center dot and on these other dots. So I'm just gradually going from a darker green to a lighter green. And then when we zoom out, that's what gives us this kind of glow in the dark kind of effect. That's all these layers of darker to slightly lighter. Okay, so that's one option for top dots. Now the other option for top dots is like what I did on here, where I actually put completely different colors, right? I put yellow on the green, I put green on the blue, I did orange and yellow on top of the red. There's so many different ways you could do that. Let me show you in one other way too. I just have to find it. Where is it? Not one, no, it's this one. So this is another one where we played with different colors in the top dots. Now this pattern in this pendant, by the way, this is just a spiral that is centered around this little hole so you don't see the whole thing. But that's all this pattern is a spiral, just like this that we've just done. But you can play around with the different colors. So I put green and purple on top of this one, purple and blue on top of this one. You can play with top dots however you want to. So my gut instinct is telling me with this piece is to maybe put yellow on top of the green, maybe orange on top of the yellow, red on top of the orange. We can mix it up and there's no specific pattern that you have to follow. You can do it any way you want to. When you're wondering what you should do next, always remind yourself, you can do this any way you want to, and it's either going to work out or it's not. But because you can do it any way you want to, do it any way you want to. When you show people your piece, do not point out your mistakes. 99% won't even notice it. That's a really, really good point. I'm really bad for that. Really bad for that. But yeah. And that's the other thing too. If you think you've made a mistake in here somewhere and when you're just getting started, wait and let the pattern develop and see, because there's lots of things that I was not happy with in those first few rows, but now you can't even see any imperfections. It's such a trick for the eye. What if I use a different color, not black, for the base? Is it the same technique for fixing mistakes? Yes. So always make sure that whatever you paint the base, if it's not black, make sure you have some of that color set aside so that you can use it to paint over any mistakes that you make. It just might take a couple extra coats. The black, usually one coat and you're good to go. But with different colors, it might take different coats, especially if it's a lighter color like a white or any of the lighter colors. Many times we were too critical of our own work. Oh, 100%. But that's why you got to let the pattern develop, right? Really let the piece develop and see, because chances are you're going to say, there was something I was unhappy with in here, but I'd really have to search to find it, right? And why bother at that point? Say, I don't even see it anymore. I'm not going looking for it. Not going looking for problems. I hope that makes sense. You guys are awesome helping me with these questions. These are great. These are all things that I would want to talk about, but that I wouldn't have come up with on my own. And Lord knows I'm not smart enough to write a list and keep it beside me to make sure I talk about it. So thank you guys. You guys are asking awesome questions. One thing you'll also come to know is that on every one of my lives, I will be listening to music as long as it's not impacting my Wi-Fi signal in any way. And you'll almost always hear me with Jason Mraz playing in the background. You'll get to know that one quick. He had a small list ready. You're amazing. I'm so glad you're able to be here. Thank you guys so much for being able to come and do this with me for the first time. I'm really, really excited about this. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. Like, I'm already thinking of different ideas for the next ones. So if you guys have any requests on things that you would like me to go through, like I want to do a whole one on nothing but swoops, where we just practice swoops all the time. The teardrop shape kind of design. If there's things that you want to see, let me know. I might not have the answers and I might not know how to do it, but if it's something that I do know how to do, I will 100% get that ready, and we'll do a specific topic on it. I just had to take a drink of water there. How are you guys doing? Are you guys stretching, taking a drink of water when you need to? Please don't let yourself get dehydrated. I've had that happen too. I have those moments where like, I'm getting a headache and I don't think I've taken a drink of water in 3 hours because I've been just painting. That happens a lot. There we go. Just getting quiet for a second. That's when it gets fun too, because you just zone out a little bit and just get into the rhythm of it. There's lots and lots of rhythm in this kind of painting, and if you can find that rhythm, it can help with consistency, it can help with spacing, it can help with all of that sort of stuff. Getting into the rhythm of it. I just want to make sure you guys can still see okay. Everybody doing okay though? So remember that you can pause the live if you need to, or rewind it if there's something you want to hear again or see again. I'm going to try and set it up with automatic closed captioning for the next one as well. I think I saw that as an option when I was jumping in here. So I'm going to do a little more research and see what else we can do to enhance this. Skittles intensifies, right? Like, maybe I need to drive to Dollarama and buy myself some candy later. I don't really. That's a 20-minute drive. I'm not doing that today. So how are we feeling? Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left for this first live. I'd like to stick with it for the 2 hours. But do you guys have any questions or anything that you would like me to answer for you before our time runs out today? Just let me know. So there's a couple different ways you can finish these too, right? When you get towards the edge of your piece, you could continue going and just let it run over the edges and just keep doing it until they run over. You could stop it maybe at a point like I'm at now and add a border. Morph to Smarties, right? That would be even better. Smarties are the best. You could go in and do some small dots around the edge to kind of create a bit of a border. You could do stuff in the corner and have it come out from the corners if you wanted to and add some design there. I kind of like when they keep going and they just go all the way over the edge. So that's what I'm going to keep doing, but there's so many options there for you. You can kind of have some fun with it and try them all. Try all of the different options that are out there in front of you, because then you will know which ones you like and which ones you don't. Now, my spaces are getting a lot bigger, so instead of only going up one size in my tool, I'm actually going to go up 2 sizes here. If you ever do decide that you want to get a set of dotting tools, I will always recommend these tools that I got from DIY Mandala Stones. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I freaking love these tools. Now, there is a set that are available, and they come from Russia. They're by Easy Mandala on Etsy, and they have silicone tips, and I'm incredibly intrigued by those. I'm really interested to see what those are like. Because my goodness, they'd be so easy to keep clean, I would think. So, and so Sharon, I think you said you're getting a set of those soon. So, well, whenever they get to you, I'm excited to hear how you like them. Maybe you could let us know what you think of those ones in case it's another good option for people. Because I think they'd be super cool. All right, I'm going for green, and we're just going to keep going. So once this is all done, then I can decide, do I want to add top dots? What do I want to do with this? What kind of detail do I want to add? Maybe I don't even want to add any. Maybe I have metallic paints and I want to put metallic greens and oranges and yellows and reds on top. You can do anything you want to with it. I could put little white dots in between everything. I could put a bunch of blue dots between everything and completely add something new. It is totally up to you. Do what feels fun to you. Some stuff is going to work and some stuff isn't. It's just going to happen. I still have stuff where some stuff turns out and I'm like, really? Ugh. You know, but then I have other stuff that knock my own socks off sometimes, going, look at this. I made this. It's so pretty. So you have to be okay with taking risks, and you have to be okay with things not working out the way you wanted. But there's always inspiration to be had in those, right? We gain clarity in all of that stuff. Yeah, let us know, Sharon. That'll be cool. You'll see some dot mandala artists that might leave it like this and not finish the row with the other colors, right? To create that little bit of the points. You can do anything you want. That's the best part. So yeah, if you want to share what you've created today, definitely post it and either use the hashtag Mandala Love Affair or tag me in it. So that's the @Mandala Love Affair. I would love to see what you create, and maybe if we get to a point where we need it, we'll create a Facebook group where we can all share our stuff there too. That could be fun. I would love to see what you guys create. It was funny because when I was creating the idea for tutorials, of course I went to and I even did one where it was, here's a project, I'm going to show you how I completed this project, you can follow along and complete this project with me, right? But what I don't like about that is that we're all different, right? Our hands are different, we breathe different. It's always going to look different. So why not just give you the skills to be able to create some of your own designs? I don't even care if you're sitting here and dotting with me. If sitting here and listening to me talk and watching me paint and talking with everybody else here inspires you to create something, I'd love to see what you create while you're sitting in this space with us. Doesn't have to be dot mandala. It's just, what are you creating? What did this 2-hour time frame together inspire you to do, right? I would love to see that stuff. So we'll wait and see. I don't know if a Facebook group is going to be what we want to do for it, or if just the hashtags or the mentions might be where we want to go, but we'll play it by ear and see what works. Puppies are outside, so they're just getting the pups inside. So sorry if there's a little extra noise here. It's time for the pups to come in for dinner. And then they're getting ready to go feed the horses soon too. It's feeding time. feeding time for me too. Thinking I have a baguette. Because I have one. I'm so excited. Does anybody have any other questions of what we've gone through here? Oh, I gotta add a little bit more paint. The yellow paints, I find I have to add a little bit extra just because they're a little bit more see-through. You keep finishing and speaking my thoughts. One mind, Barb. We're mind melding. It was only a matter of time. It was bound to happen. We're like one mind now. So that looks really cool too. So I could do a design out in the corners and go down. I could put like a little border around. I'm going to keep going just with a larger tool and just keep going. So let's see. And then see how that one there is going to go over the edge. And then that one. And then that one I'm still going to go over the edge, right? Just so that the design doesn't get interrupted there. Oops, not enough paint. Now sometimes if you don't clean off your tools, then the paint can almost get a little sticky, and that can create these little pockets, or that's what thick paint will do too. If you get these little dimples, that means that your paint's a little bit thick. Let me see here. The only time my dogs are quiet is when you're talking. Do they like the sound of my voice, Barb? Oh, that makes me so happy. Hello, puppies. I love you. I hope you're doing good. I would love to come and smoosh your face and give you kisses. And someday it'll happen. You'll either be here visiting at the farm or I'll be coming out to see you. That'll happen at some point. Have to come and see the puppies. I feel like your dream snack is non-wrapped around a baguette. Oh my God. Dipped in garlic butter. Drenched in cheese. And sprinkled with bacon. There you go. Right there. Heart attack on a plate. But oh my God, that'd be a good way to go. It'd be so delicious. Need to record Jamie talking and have it playing when you need them to be quiet. Oh, thanks, Manon. I'm glad you like it. Maybe go smaller again for a spark effect. Yes, that's a really good idea. We could go small again on the edges here, and it could kind of just be like a little, like a firework almost, right? Like the sparklers. There are so many possibilities with what you can do, and that's why this is such a good design to just continually practice over and over and over and over and over again. If you want to kind of drill in some muscle memory around the spacing and everything else that's there. Right? Like even those little bits here, it makes a difference in completing the design if you think you should be able to see it. And if you're unsure, leave it blank, and then once it dries and you finish off the design, if there are spots that stand out to you as being too blank, you'll be able to see them pretty clearly. They'll jump out at you. Or we'll have a full weekend workshop. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fun? I still think it would be so much fun someday to do a retreat where you guys can come here and spend some time and we'll just paint all day and hang out with the animals. Wouldn't that be so much fun? Oh my God, we'd have way too much fun. So yeah, if you're ever unsure if you want to kind of add that extra little bit of detail there, you can just kind of wait and see how it looks after it dries to see if there's any spaces that kind of stand out to you. When you get to using the larger tools, the dimpling is a little bit more common. So if you get like this, for example, where you get a little bit of dimpling there, I don't know if you can see that. See how this one here kind of dimples in that corner? I would just go in it with a toothpick and just kind of move the paint around a little bit, and that'll help. Spread it around even back on other ones. Oh, got a polka dot there. Toothpicks work really well for popping bubbles too. So it's very possible that you'll get some bubbles that can, like this one here, I've got a bubble in this little guy. So I just want to pop it because that can affect the way that it dries. So keep an eye on bubbles as well. Oh, I needed more red. I missed a spot for red. This needs to go over here. I know I'm getting in the way and creating shadow. Sorry, guys. There we go. Just dipped my phone stylus in paint. Yes, Barb. Dibs on Fred. I'll fight you for him. You'll love him. Oh, he gives the best hugs. Oh my God, he gives just the absolute best hugs. It's crazy. Sharon, I may never go home. How did you dot the half dots at the end of the canvas? How do you keep it from dripping down the sides? I don't. I let it drip. So there's the edge. I let it drip. If I wanted to, I could always masking tape this before I started. You could also use masking fluid that paints on just like glue that you could peel off. Or you could go back in with black paint later and cover up anything if you didn't want it to drip. I personally don't. I just let it drip. When I did this pendant, it was one of my favorite things about this pendant because look, it drips down the side. It just looks so freaking cool. It looks like icing almost. So it depends, especially on a thicker canvas, I would let it drip. But that's personal preference though. You don't have to do it that way, right? All right, you guys, how are we doing? Do you guys have any questions that I haven't answered for you yet? How are you feeling about what you've created? Do you have any specific questions about what's going on for you that I can answer for you? Thank you for your help too. Thank you for jumping on this one with me, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Ish, Barb, Sharon, Manon. Ish, thank you for the help with answering questions. And Barb and Sharon, I know you guys keep an eye on the comments and answer questions where you can as well. And I'm just so grateful for that. And this was a lot of fun. Are you guys, what do you think? We keep doing this? Is this a good idea to keep going with? And then how do you dot those half dot quarter ones? No, I use the exact same size, the exact same amount of paint, and then just place it where I should place it and let it drip and go that way. So I don't try and modify the size or the amount of paint or anything because I want to try and keep it as uniform. The spot that will show up on canvas, I want to keep it as uniform as possible. P.S. My dog comes with me everywhere. Beautiful. Good. Bring the animals. I love it. I'm enjoying watching it with wine. Yes, yes, surely keep doing this. Fantastic. Yes, I'm in for the rest of I'm free for the rest of the day. Yes, keep on keeping on. Okay, awesome. Yay. I'm so glad that you enjoyed this as much as I did. This is going to be fun. This is going to be really, really fun. Would love to come visit up there a week or weekend of art and spirit work, yoga, meditation. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be so much fun? We'll have to do some of that. I can handle the meditation and all that other stuff. Maybe we could find other people to come in and do workshops for us or find places to go and go do stuff like that. There's lots of cool stuff like that around here, that's for sure. So maybe someday, wouldn't that be nice? All right, you guys. So there we go. One, maybe two more little rows in the corners left. And then this puppy is done. Oh, that's too big. Where's my other tool? 17, I think it's this one. Yes, there we go. So I'm just gonna keep going here. And you just keep following this pattern. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed this. This was so much fun. Let me know what you want to see for other tutorials, what other patterns. I'd like to go with color grades sometime. I want to do swoops. We need to do walking dots. We need to do like the petal designs. We need to do more concentric circles around petal designs. We've got lots of stuff to cover, but let me know if there's something in particular, or if you come across a design and say, hey, can you teach us how to do something like this? Send it off to me. Let me know. Yes, please do this again. Wonderful. I'm going to do this every week. Right now, we're going to say it's going to be every Saturday. There's always the possibility, depending on when I need to go and do things for my mom and dad. I usually do that on Sundays, but that might end up being Saturdays at some point. But whatever day I'm not doing stuff for them, we'll do that. And we might even do this the occasional weeknight too. We'll wait and see. But I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. So yeah, now look at, now it's really satisfying too. Look at all the drips. Yeah. And then the top dots will drip over that. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Ish. How I get joy back in my life when I want to thank Dr. Okay. I forgot I don't have moderator status. I really need to... Yeah, how do we do that? I'll have to look at how we get that done, Ish? Yeah, we'll have to look at how we get that done and how we set that up. I think I just need to make you a co-host, or I'll Google, though, how we get that set up. Yeah. I was starting to read it. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think this is something. Almost done. So pretty darn close to done, you guys. Yeah, I'll do some Googling and figure that out. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, we'll make sure that you have that. But this was fun, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great time. I can't wait to do more of this. I'm going to work on lighting. I'm going to work on camera angles. We'll work on getting moderator status for some help in this. We'll look at different designs and how we're going to go forward. All of that sort of stuff. Wait a minute. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and this was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to doing another one. So I'm going to spend the next couple of days, I'm going to be getting some more events in on the Facebook page to be able to kind of plan out the next couple of weeks and what we're going to go through and what we're going to cover and all of that good stuff. So keep your eyes out for that. And any questions, any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. So anything you got, I would greatly appreciate. Anybody who's here that's in the Patreon, I will be working on getting this saved and uploaded to YouTube to send it to you as a private link. And that will go in the Patreon chat. So that'll be a couple of days. I'm guessing I will get that done on Monday. I'm going to try and get it downloaded and uploaded tonight, but might even get it done sooner. But I'll keep you posted when that's there. Yeah. This is awesome, you guys. Thank you. I love you. And I'm so glad you spent some time with me today. And this was a lot of fun. Excuse me. All right. I'm going to go have something to eat. You guys should go have something to eat. Have some water. Get up. Stretch. Move around a little bit. And, excuse me. And we'll look forward to doing this again really soon. I can't wait. And tomorrow I will post my TikTok live schedule. Still doing those. That's not changing. I've got lots and lots of projects that I want to work on. And so that is not changing at all. This is not having any impact on the TikTok live schedule at all. So I will have that posted tomorrow evening. I might even be able to get it posted later today. We'll see. We'll see how I get through all of this other stuff. But thank you guys so much for coming and spending so much time with me today. I really hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for all of the love and support. I love you guys. I'm so glad. I was having an issue with a Patreon download. Okay, send me a message and let me know what's going on with that so that I can try and help with that, Sharon, for sure. Let me know and I'll dig into that and see what's going on, okay? Thank you, Manon. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, Ish. Thank you, Rex. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, everybody that popped on. I'm really glad that you were here. I love you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, shoot me a message if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Bye, guys. Love ya.